folks, welcome back to another virtual class. This class we're going to utilise a chi ball. If you don't have a chi ball, don't worry, you could just do the whole class without it, or you could replicate it potentially with a pillow folded in half, rolled up towel, something like that. Otherwise, just leave it out, it doesn't matter, you can still be able to do the entire class without chi ball. I don't have a foam roller with me today, so if you want to roll yourself out a little bit more before you kick off with the class, just press play and then jump back in when you're ready. Just a couple of reminders, like normal, be mindful of the space that you're in, be careful of the things that are around you to make sure your space is free, you're not going to run into anything or hurt yourself. Listen to your bodies. If there's something going on with your body today that you know one of the exercises we do isn't quite right for your body, then just leave it out. It'll be literally minutes before we skip on to the next exercise. And yeah, enjoy the class. If you have your foam roller with you, just roll it to the side. We're going to start today lying straight down on our backs. So wriggle yourself into lying down on your back and have your knees hip width distance apart. Knees in line with hip bones, second toes in line with knees. If you have a chi ball, you're going to tuck that chi ball down in between your knees. It just helps us maintain that alignment. It makes our inner thighs work a little bit. It's not excessive, it just makes that little engagement of your inner thighs. And whenever your inner thighs have that little connection and that work going on by holding something like a ball, your pelvic floor will automatically have a little bit of a lift to it. If you haven't got a chi ball, it doesn't matter. You're still just lying down on your back with your knees and your feet hip width distance apart. We're going to get you to take your hands and place your hands on the base of your ribs. And you're going to have your middle fingers just touching each other for me. So they're just gently touching and your hands are on the base of your ribs. You're going to make sure your neck's nice and long, shoulders are nice and relaxed and they're away from your ears. And we're just going to start with our breathing. So if you can take a breath in through your nose for me, and then out through your mouth. Big deep breaths, me breathing in through your nose, and out through your mouth. And as you take those nice big deep breaths, you're using your full lung capacity. You're letting as much air into your lungs as you possibly can, and then you're slowly letting all the air out of your lungs. Whilst we're taking big deep breaths, they are still gentle breaths. So the breath should always match the movement. The movement here is very gentle, so they're gentle breaths. Letting as much air into your lungs as you can, and then slowly letting all that air out. Just keep breathing for me. As you're breathing, you should feel your ribs moving underneath your hands. You should feel your middle fingers just gently coming apart, and your ribs expanding, and then your middle fingers just gently come back together. We're going to do 2 more breaths. Big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And last one for me, big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're going to leave one hand on the base of your ribs and rest your other hand on your belly for me. We're going to do some diaphragmatic belly breathing. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, and as you do, you're going to feel your belly lifting up underneath your hand. And then you're going to breathe out, and you're going to feel that belly just gently dropping back down. So you breathe in, and you feel your belly lifting. Breathe out, and the belly drops. And again, just keep breathing like that for me in your own time. You feel your belly lifting and lowering up underneath your hand. That movement, as we know, is created with our diaphragm lifting and lowering. I'm getting a nice little massage of our internal organs. We're warming up the abdominal wall. So the muscles that make up the abdominal wall area are being moved and they're warming them up, just like any other muscle group. We're going to do 2 more breaths like that. Big deep breath in, allow that belly gently to lift up underneath your hand, and then exhale to let all that air out. And 1 more breath pattern for me. Big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to bring our arms down by our side and we're going to turn our palms towards the ceiling. Nice broad shoulders. We're going to start with our little pelvic tilts. We're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to gently roll your pelvis backwards and allow your spine to flatten into the mat. And then you're going to roll your pelvis forwards and let your back arch. Gently rolling backwards, allow your spine to flatten and open up into the mat, and roll the pelvis forwards and let the back arch. So you're just going to keep moving in your own time, gently rolling backwards and forwards, spine imprints into the mat as you roll forwards, your back arches. Knees are still, if you've got a chi ball between your knees, that'll be helping that. If you haven't got a chi ball between your knees, just be mindful of what's happening with them, try and keep them stable and still. Your head's going to move, your chin will drop in towards your chest, your chin will pop up towards the ceiling, that's perfectly fine, let that happen. 2 more each way, chin gently tucks in towards your chest, and roll the pelvis backwards and the chin goes up towards the ceiling. Come to rest in neutral, pause there. Moving from your wrists, I'm going to get you to swivel your palms down. Arms are gently engaged into the floor, so just that gentle engagement, 10 to 15%. It's going to help you switch your back muscles on. Standing firmly in your feet, even weight distribution right across your feet, we're going to come into a bridge. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to tip your pelvis backwards, your spine is going to imprint, and then you're going to slowly lift your hips right up off of the mat. You're going to come up to about the base of your shoulder blades. You're going to take a breath in there, and you're going to breathe out to slowly peel down. You're going to work your way through each vertebrae in your spine one at a time, and then you're going to allow your pelvis to roll through neutral at the bottom. We're going to go again, breathing in first, exhale, gently tilt the pelvis backwards, the spine will imprint, and then float up into that nice elongated bridge position. Pause there, take a breath in, and breathe out, down you come. Try and picture in your mind each vertebrae peeling down one at a time, and let that pelvis roll through neutral. Moving in your own time, feet firmly down on the mat, keep that even weight distribution right through your feet, particularly those big toes. If you feel your big toes and the inside of your foot starting to lift, your calves are trying to get in on the action. We don't want your calves in on the action on this exercise. Let's do one more. Inhale first, gentle tilt back, spine imprints, floating up into that nice long, strong bridge, really opening through your hips. Take a breath in, and then down you come. Arms still gently engaged into the mat. You haven't forgotten about your arms. Roll your pelvis through neutral. Relax with your back on the mat and take a moment to think about how your ribs feel on the mat. 12 ribs you have, all of them should be gently just touching the mat. We're going to keep our front ribs still. No movement through the front ribs, no movement through the back ribs. We're going to do some arm arcs. We're going to take a breath in and we're going to breathe out to float our arms up towards the ceiling. Just come to the ceiling for me to begin with, and then bring your arms all the way back down. Inhale, breath first. Exhale to float both arms to the ceiling, nice long arms, and then bring them all the way back down. We're going to go that little bit further back, inhaling first. Exhale, arms come to the ceiling, going back as far as you can without your ribs leaving the mat, and the front ribs nice and still, and then bring them all the way back down. Arms are nice and long, work in your own time, everybody's breath pattern is different. Inhaling first, exhale, arms go to the ceiling. Take them back, maintain that rib cage for me, and then bring them all the way down. As you're moving your arms by maintaining your rib cage, it's your abdominal muscles that have to hold those ribs nice and still. If you feel your ribs starting to lift up off of the mat or your ribs flaring at the front, then you're taking your arms that little bit too far. Work within the range that you're able to control. We've got one more like this, and then we're going to add on. Inhaling first, exhale, arms go to the ceiling, go back to that range that's comfortable for your body today, and then float your arms all the way back down by your side. And we're going to move into some windmills. If windmills aren't right for you today, I just want you to stick with the first exercise. Otherwise, come with me. Take a breath in, breathe out to float both arms up towards the ceiling. Hold there. Right arm comes above your head, left arm comes down by your side. Circle your arms around, and then bring them back up towards the ceiling. So you're going to keep going in this direction. One arm up, one arm down, circle around. As you're moving your arms, you haven't forgotten about your ribs. Keep them nice and still for me. Ribs still funnel down towards your pelvis, try not to let them move. Nice big deep breaths. You're breathing in through your nose and you're breathing out through your mouth. When you get to the top, pause for me. Let's change the direction. Left arm above your head, right arm down by your side, circle your arms around and bring them back to the ceiling. Again, you're going to keep going in this direction. Nice big deep breaths. Arms stay long and they're nice and straight. No movement through those ribs. Those front ribs are still and those back ribs are still. You're getting nice shoulder mobility here. Your breath is still helping you to move. We're going to do one more. Inhale first. Exhale. Circle those arms around. When you get back to the top, pause and lower your arms all the way down by your side. Reach down and grab the little chi ball from between your knees and just put it on the floor next to you if you've got a chi ball. Bring your knees and feet together so they're now touching each other. I'm just going to get some hip mobility here. We're going to do bent knee fall out. We're going to alternate legs. We're going to start and lead the movement with the left leg. You can take a breath in, and as you breathe out, allow your left leg to draw out towards the side without your right leg moving, and then pull your left leg back to the center line. We're going to change sides. Right leg goes out towards the side, and then pull the leg back to the center line. Alternate sides. Focus on what's happening with your pelvis. I want you to keep your pelvis nice and still. Try not to let it move. It's not moving forwards and backwards, and nor is it moving from side to side. Your opposite knee is stable and still. If you feel that opposite knee getting a bit of a wobble in it, then it's likely that your pelvis is moving. Work within the range that you're able to control. So make the range smaller if your pelvis is moving. We're going to do one more on each side. Breathing in first, breathe out to allow the knee to go out towards the side with as much control as you can, and then pull it back to the center. I want you to make sure that you finish on your right hand side so you're nice and even. Okay, pause in the middle. We're going to do both knees at the same time. If you can take a breath in and breathe out to let both knees draw apart at the same time, and then draw them back in at the same time. You're going to move at your own time and at your own pace. Both of your knees are tracking at the same time. Try not to let one go quicker than the other. They're at the same time and they're at the same pace. It's like there's a rubber band between your knees. It allows your knees to draw apart and then you pull them back together. We're going to do two more. Inhaling first, exhale, knees draw apart with as much control as you've got. And then pull them back together. Feel that drawing into the pelvic floor and the abdominal muscles when you bring your legs in. You've got one to go. Allow the legs to draw apart. And then pull them back to the center line. Pause there for me. Wriggle your feet back into hip width distance apart. Float your left leg up to tabletop. And then stretch your left leg out on a 45-degree angle. Your knees should be roughly in line with each other. Point your toes away from you. And then draw me some circles with your toes. The circles you're drawing around, they don't need to be big. Your right leg is still. Try not to let that right leg wobble. You're breathing. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. And your leg is long. You're stretching your leg out as long as you can. You're trying to reach your toes onto the wall on the opposite side of your room. Change the direction. Reverse the circle. Imagine there's a paintbrush on the end of your toes and you're painting me a circle on the wall. That circle is nice and round. It's nice and smooth. Nice big deep breaths. Your right leg is still stable and it's still. Nice and relaxed through those head, neck and shoulders. You've got one circle to go. And then you're going to pause. You're going to bend your knee and you're going to place your foot back down onto the mat. You're going to bring your right leg up to tabletop. You're going to stretch it out on a 45-degree angle. Again, both knees should be roughly in line with each other. Point your toe and start your circles soon. Nice and round. Don't need to be big. In fact, if they're too big, the rest of your body's going to move. The only thing that we're trying to move here is your right leg. Your left leg is grounded onto the mat. Your foot is concreted to the floor. There's a cup of coffee sitting on your left knee. That coffee is still. You're trying not to spill a drop. Reverse the direction. Nice big deep breaths. Keep the breath pattern going. You're breathing in through your nose. You're breathing out through your mouth. You've still got your toes pointed away from you to create that nice length through the front of your hip. Nice round circles. Rest of the body is stable and it is still. Got two circles to go. Once you've done your two, you're going to bend your knee, you're going to return your foot down to the ground. You're going to bring your left leg back up towards the ceiling. You're going to interlace your hands and you're going to place that behind your leg. You're going to pull your leg in towards your chest. If you're feeling that in your knee at all, you're going to soften your knee. Otherwise your leg is as straight as you can make it. If you're feeling it more in your calf, I want you to point your toes further to the ceiling as opposed towards your nose. Keep the breath pattern going for me. Breathing in and breathing out. Take the hands away from the back of your left leg. Bring your right leg to the ceiling, interlace them behind there, and then pull that leg in towards your chest. And again, if you're feeling it in your knee, I want you to soften your knee slightly. If you're feeling it in your calf, I want you to point your toes further to the ceiling to make sure that that stretch is coming into your hamstring. Nice big deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. You're going to uninterlace your fingers, you're going to place your foot back down onto the mat. If you have a chi ball, you're going to grab your chi ball and you're going to put it between your knees. If you don't have a chi ball, you're going to imagine that there's one between your knees. You're going to take your hands, you're going to interlace them behind your head. Your ring finger and your little finger are on the base of your skull and the rest of your hands are running down the back of your neck. Your elbows are wide. It's like you're trying to reach them onto the opposite sides of the room. Your core is engaged. You feel that gentle pull back of your belly button back towards your spine. That is a gentle engagement. We're not jamming anything on here. We're going to take a breath in. We're going to breathe out to lift our head, neck and shoulders. We're going to look directly towards our chi ball or our imaginary chi ball. And then we're going to lower our head, neck and shoulders back down. We're going to inhale breath first. We exhale to lift our head, neck and shoulders. Our gaze goes to our chi ball. And then we lower ourselves all the way down. As you're coming up into those chest lifts, you'll feel your spine go from a neutral spine to an imprinted spine and your back flattens out into the mat. As you come up into your chest lifts, your elbows are nice and wide and you're still trying to reach those elbows to the opposite sides of the room. Your gaze here is important. Where your eyes go, your body will go. So look towards your chi ball or your imaginary chi ball. We're going to do one more. Inhale first, exhale to lift head, neck and shoulders up, gaze to the ball. And then lower down. We're going to add on. If you prefer to keep your hands behind your head, feel free to do so. Take a breath in, breathe out to lift your head, neck and shoulders up, gaze to those balls. Take your hands, tuck them behind your knees, and then breathe out to pull yourself up that bit higher. Hold that height, bring your arms to the ceiling, put them back behind your head, and then lower yourself all the way back down. So you're breathing in first, you breathe out to lift your head, neck and shoulders, gaze to your ball. Tuck your hands behind your knees and then breathe out to pull up higher for me. Holding that height, bring your arms to the ceiling, put them back behind your head and then lower yourself all the way down. We're going to do two more. Breathe in first, exhale to lift. Inhale to tuck the hands behind the knees, exhale to pull up higher. Holding your height, bring your arms to the ceiling, put them behind your head and then lower yourself all the way down. Lucky last. Inhale first, exhale, head, neck and shoulders lift. Hands tuck, scoop. Pull yourself up higher. Hold your height, bring your arms to the ceiling, put them behind your head, and then lower yourself all the way down. Take one hand from behind your head, reach down, take the chi ball from between your knees, and put it on the carpet next to you, or the floor next to you. Put that hand back behind your head for me, so you've interlaced your fingers again at the base of your skull. Elbows are nice and wide. We're going to go up into crisscross. So you're going to float one leg up to 90 degrees, and you're going to hold it there. Going to take a breath in and you're going to bring your second leg up to join it. You're going to inhale here and you're going to exhale to lift your head, neck and shoulders up. You're looking down between the middle of your thighs. Stretch one leg out nice and long, bring your opposite elbow across to your knee and then inhale, exhale to change them over. So you're bringing your elbow to your knee. If you can touch your knee, that's great. If you can't, don't worry, just bring it as close as you can. Your opposite elbow goes back behind you. You're really opening up through that armpit area. Gaze, that's sort of following a horizontal line across the room. Legs are long, stretch it out long, open through the hip, point the toes across the room. We're going to do one more on each side. Inhale, exhale. Last one here. When you get back into the middle pause, lower your head, neck and shoulders down. Take your hands from behind your head, hug your knees in towards your chest, give it a little bit of a hug and give your spine a little massage on the mat. A little roll around in the mat. And turning the head from side to side as well if you want. That'll take any tension out of your neck. If you're rolling in a little circle, roll the other way for me. Again, turn the head is fine. And then you're going to float your feet back down onto the mat. You're going to place your feet again hip width distance apart. You're going to lift your hips up off of the mat and you're going to slide your hands underneath your hips. So you're sitting on top of your hands. That gives you nice broad shoulders and it gives a little bit of assistance to the hamstrings in this next exercise. Float one leg to 90 degrees and hold it there. Take a breath in, bring your second leg up to join it. Stretch both of your legs straight to the ceiling and touch them together for me initially. Then take a breath in and breathe out to lift your head, neck and shoulders up and you're looking to the middle of your thighs. Left leg is going to move first. You're going to slowly lower the left leg down towards the mat. Keep your spine gently imprinted and then bring it back up. Change it to the right leg, lower the leg down and then bring it back up. Alternate sides for me. Keep your gaze down towards the middle of your thighs. As you lower your leg, if you feel your back starting to arch up off of the mat, I don't want you to lower your leg quite so low. Nice long breaths are there to match your movement and to assist you to do the movement. You're going to do one more on each side. Lower the leg down, keep the gaze down between your legs and then bring it back up. Last one. When you get to the top, pause. Lower your head, neck and shoulders down. Bend your knees. Place your feet onto the mat. Lift your hips. Take your hands out from underneath your hips. Put your hips down on the mat. Float your arms right over the top of your head. Stretch your feet out nice and long for me. Stretch your legs out nice and long. Point your toes away from you. Open through the palms of your hands. Stretch through your fingers and breathe here for a moment. Great big full body stretch. If you used to be in my mat classes, imagine I've got hold of your ankles and I'm pulling your feet to get that beautiful length through your hips. Take a breath in and breathe out to float your arms to the ceiling and then bring them all the way down and rest them down by your side. You're going to roll onto your side, roll yourself over for me and cradle your head in on your arm. If you prefer for your arm to be straight, your arm could be straight. Otherwise it's bent for me. Your knees are bent and your feet are tucked back in line with your hips so your knees are not too far forwards. Hand, if you can take that and place that on your hip and then push your hip away from you so you feel that little gentle lift of your waistline through off of the mat and your hips become stacked. One side of your pelvis is stacked on top of the other side. Your chin's up off of your chest so your gaze is across the room. If you prefer to have your hand back on the mat, feel free to put it back on the mat, otherwise you're going to keep it up on top of your hips. Your feet are going to stay touching each other. You're going to take a breath in. And as you breathe out, you're going to lift your top leg up off of your bottom leg and then you're going to lower it all the way down. And as you open and close that leg, just gently moving in your own time, your hips are still. If you feel that your hip tips backwards when you lift your leg, then I don't want you to lift your leg quite so high. I want you to work within the range that you're able to control. You've got nice long breaths again to match your movement, is always designed to assist you. Again, you're breathing in through your nose and you're breathing out through your mouth. The rest of your body is stable and it's nice and still. We're going to do one more. Gentle lift of the knee and then lower it down. We're going to stretch the top leg out long and straight. Your leg is in line with your hip. Your toes are pulled towards your nose so you have flexed your foot. And you're going to lift your leg up towards the ceiling and you're going to lower it down. And the height that you lift that leg depends on what's happening with your waistline. You want to keep that waistline nice and still. Again, your breath is matching your movement, gently floating the leg up and then lowering it down. Rest of the body's nice and still and nice long breaths. We're going to do 3 more. The leg is long, you're trying to scrape your heel on the opposite side of the room. Nice and controlled through that torso. You've got 1 more. Lift and lower. Let your foot rest down on the mat for the moment. We're going to kick forwards and backwards in a minute. If you can lift your leg up to hip high, maintain that flexed foot and then kick your leg forwards. Point your toe and take your leg backwards. Work within the range that you can keep your hips still. Flex foot as you kick forwards, pointed toe as you go backwards. Leg is long, make it as long as you can. Keep your breathing going. Feel your torso wobbling around. I want you to make your kick smaller. Doesn't need to be big to be effective. I want you to maintain that stability through your torso and your hips. Breath is matching your movement, gliding forwards and gliding backwards. We're going to do one more each way. Inhale to glide that leg forwards. Exhale to glide the leg back. Hold it there for me. Take that leg back as far as you possibly can. Take your hand off of your hip or off of the mat. Bring your arm forwards on a diagonal and reach as far as you can with your arm. There's a great big long diagonal line from your fingers down to your toes. You've got one more breath in here. Then you're going to breathe out to float everything down onto the mat. You're going to change sides. You're going to roll yourself over or flip to the other edge. I'm just going to grab a sip of water. Coming down into that first position with both knees bent. So again, on this side, arm bent if that's comfortable for you. Could be straight if that's better. The choice is yours. Knees are bent, feet are tucked back in line with your hips. Hands going to come and place on your hip. Going to push that hip away and create that little space that you've got underneath your waistline. Feet are staying touching. Hand could return to the mat if you like, but I want you to maintain that hip position that you created. Your gaze is across the room, so your chin's up off of your chest. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to float your knee up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to lower it down. And as you lift and lower your knee, your hips are stable and still. You're nice and controlled through that torso. Nothing else is moving, only your leg. If you prefer to have your hand on the mat, feel free to bring your hand down onto the mat. If you feel your hip tipping backwards as you move your leg, then I want you to change the range. I want you to make it smaller. I want you to be able to control the torso, the hips, and just move the leg. 2 to go. Gentle lift and lower. And one more for me. Lift and lower. Stretch the top leg out long and straight. Have the leg in line with the hip. Flex the foot so the toes are pulled to your nose. Lift your leg up towards the ceiling for me, and then lower it down. As you lift and lower that leg, your waistline stays lifted up off the mat. Your hips stay still. Your leg is long. You're trying to scrape your heel up the wall on the opposite side of the room. You're not lifting that leg too high that you feel that your waistline drops back down into the mat and your hip starts to move. This side may well be different from the other. That's perfectly normal. Nice long breaths. Gently lifting the leg and then lowering it down. We're going to do 2 more. Float the leg up and then lower it down. And last one. And then rest the leg down on the mat for a microsecond. Hands staying on the hip or on the mat. It's entirely up to you. Either is fine. Lift the top leg up off the bottom leg again for me. Keep that flexed foot as you kick your leg forwards. Point your toe as you take your leg backwards. Inhale as you bring your leg forwards. Exhale as you take that leg backwards. And as you glide the leg forwards and backwards, the leg is long. You're stretching your leg out as long as you possibly can. Trying to reach your toes and your heel on the opposite side of the room. There's no movement through your hips and no movement through your torso, and your breath continues to match your movement. You've got 2 to go. Float the leg forwards and then take it backwards. And last one, inhale to come forwards. Exhale to go backwards. When you get to the middle, pause. Take that leg back as far as you possibly can. Take your hand off of your hip or off of the mat and reach your arm across on a diagonal. Stretch out as long as you possibly can. Open through those fingers. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Pause. Breath in. And then lower everything all the way down. Carefully flip yourself onto your stomach for me. We're going to start in goalpost. We're going to have our hands a little bit wider than our mat. So hands out on the floor a little bit wider than the mat. Head is either hovering or resting on the mat. Either is fine. It's up to you. Legs are out long and legs are together. Slide them together. They might move, but let's start with them together. Shoulders are nice and relaxed and away from your ears. Toe muscles are switched on. So you feel like your belly button's got that gentle lift up over the mat. Going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to lift your face and gently lift your chest up off of the mat for me. And then you're going to lower yourself all the way down. Nice long necks. Inhaling first, exhale, up you come. The highest we want you to come is to the bottom of your rib cage. When you do this, you're moving in your own time, and you're thinking about length from the crown of your head right down to your toes. You're not lifting too high that you feel this movement coming into your lower back. As you're moving, start to think about what's happening with your arms. There should be no pressure in those forearms. We want you to use your back muscles to come up as opposed to pushing up with your arms. Nice long breaths to match the movement. We're going to do 2 more. Inhale first, exhale, up you come, lengthen from the crown of your head and then lower yourself all the way down. 1 to go. Inhale first, exhale, up you come, and then lower yourself down. Take your hands, slide them down by your side and turn your palms up to the ceiling for me. Toes, bring your big toes together, allow your ankles to flop out towards the side. Reach your fingers down as long as you can. Shoulders are relaxed. We're going to move into darts, same sort of movement. Take a breath in, breathe out to lift your face, lift your chest, and lift your arms up off of the mat for me, and then lower yourself all the way down. We've got an inhale breath first, exhale to lift just to the bottom of those ribs for me, nice long bodies, and then lower yourself all the way down. I want you to feel the length from the crown of your head down to your toes. As you breathe out to come up, you're just like a nice, long, strong human dart. We've got 2 to go. Inhale first, exhale, up you come. Lengthen through those fingers, lengthen through the crown of your head, and then lower yourself all the way down. And last one for me. Inhale first, exhale, up you come. Lower all the way down. We're going to go back into a little child's pose stretch. So if you can take your hips back towards your heels. If it's comfortable for you, I want you to put your arms out in front of you. I want you to sink your hips back towards your heels. You're going to stay here for a moment and you're going to breathe. If it's more comfortable for you to have your arms by your side, feel free to put them by your side. Taking nice big deep breaths again, breathing into the back of your ribs. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to go into the little leg stretch. So if you can put your left hand on the edge of the mat. If you can walk your right hand through the mat and put it on top of your left hand. And then I want you to sink your hips back towards your heels. I want you to breathe into your right rib cage. Nice big deep breaths. Feel that stretch all the way down through your side of your body. Got 1 more breath pattern there. Big deep breath in. Exhale out. Walk your hands through the center of your mat. Put your right hand on the edge of the mat. Place your left hand on top of your right hand. And again, sink your hips back towards your heels and breathe. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. Nice big deep breaths. Walk your hands back into the middle of the mat and pull yourself forwards onto your hands and knees. We're going to move into quadruped. So if you've wriggled back a bit further on your mat, come forward so that you're more in the center. Hands are going to come down and place underneath your shoulders. They're directly underneath your shoulders. There should be a straight line here. Nice right angle for your arm and your torso. Knees, there's a little gap between your knees. If your knees are too close together, you're going to decrease the base of support. You want that nice little gap between your knees. You are weight bearing through your little fingers, so you're physically able to lift your thumbs up off of the mat. Your gaze is about a hand pace or 2 in front of you, so your neck is nice and long. Your torso is stable. You're just going to move your limbs. You're going to start with your left arm. You're going to take a breath in. You're going to breathe out to slide your left arm along the mat. You're going to bring it up in line with your torso. You're going to bring your fingertips back to the mat and slide your hand underneath your shoulder. You're going to change to your right arm. Slide your arm out and then lift it up for me. Return your fingers to the mat and slide it underneath. Alternate sides for me. Slide the hand out and lift it up. Make it long but not too high, and then bring it down. As you alternate sides in your own time, when your hand returns to the mat, you're still weight bearing through those little fingers. You haven't forgotten where your gaze is. Your gaze is still a hand pace and a half, maybe 2 out in front of you, to keep your head in line with your spine. Got 1 to go. Finishing with your right arm for me to make sure you're nice and even, and then lower the arm down. We're going to move to the legs. You're going to imagine I've placed a cup of coffee on top of your pelvis. Maybe that's a cup of tea. It's nice and still though. You're not going to spill it. Leading with the left leg. Slide the toes along the mat. Lift the leg up in line with your hips. Put your toes back to the mat and slide your knee underneath your torso. Change to your right. Slide your toes out. Lift your leg. Toes to the mat. Slide them underneath. As you alternate sides in your own time, your gaze is still where you started, out in front of your hands. You're going to take your focus to that imaginary cup of coffee that's sitting on top of your pelvis. It's still. You're not going to spill a drop. Nice big deep breaths. One more on each side. Slide your toes out. Lift to the height that you can control your pelvis. Toes back to the mat and slide underneath. Last one on the other side. Slide out. Lift up. And then return them down. We're going to go into opposite arm and leg now. If you prefer to stick with singles, stick with singles. Otherwise, take a breath in, breathe out to glide opposite arm and leg out. Lift them up nice and long, but not too high. Return them to the mat and bring them underneath. Changing sides. Opposite arm and leg go out. Lift them up for me, make them long. And then bring them back down. Alternate sides in your own time. Keep that gaze out in front of you. Focus on length as opposed to height. Nice long breaths to match your movement. I'm going to do one more on each side. I want you to make sure that you're even. Glide them out, lift them up, return them to the mat and glide them in. Last one, glide them out, lift them up and then bring them back down. Pause here. Wriggle forwards on your mats. Stay on your hands and knees. We're going to move into a glute stretch. I want you to take both of your feet and flip them to the left hand side of your mat. I want you to pick up your left foot and put it in the middle of your mat. I want you to slide your left foot down and I want you to wriggle your way down onto your forearms. Once you're down there, if you want, you can wriggle that left foot back a bit more. And you're just going to sink yourself into a nice hip stretch here. The further your right foot is towards your chest, the more intense that stretch will be. Doesn't need to be intense to be effective, but we do want to feel it stretching. Breathe here for me, Tim. Carefully pull yourself back up onto all fours. We're going to change sides. Both legs go to the right. Pick up the right leg, put it in the middle of the mat. Slide it down the mat again, come onto your forearms, and then wriggle that foot back a bit. Sink into that hip and let it stretch. Big deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Inhale and exhale. One more breath pattern here. And then you're going to carefully pull yourself out of it. You're going to come up to a sitting position and you're going to stretch your legs out long and straight in front of you. If you have your chi ball, you're going to grab it and bring it near you. If you don't have your chi ball, it does not matter. I'm going to grab another sip of water. We're going to take that chi ball, if you own one, and have it near you, and we're going to tuck it between your toes. So feet are flexed, you've got it between your toes. So literally, you could slide your hand between your feet. You don't want it near your ankles, you near your toes. You're going to sit up nice and straight for me. Hands are going to come down beside you, palms to the ceiling. We're going to do spine stretch. You want to take a breath in, and as you exhale, tuck your chin to your chest. You're going to gently tip your pelvis backwards slightly, and then you're going to slide your hands forwards. You've got that little curl in your spine, and you're going to slide forwards and stretch through your spine. And then slowly come back up, and you're going to sit up nice and tall with your shoulders away from your ears. So you've got a breath in, tuck the chin to the chest, round the spine backwards. Breathe out as you curl yourself forwards. Then come all the way back up, sit up tall, shoulders are relaxed. Going again, inhale first, tuck the chin to the chest, round the spine backwards. Breathe out as you curl yourself forwards. And then come all the way back up. We're going to do two more. And the last one, we're going to hang out there. So tuck the chin to the chest, round to the spine. Exhale as you curl yourself forwards. All the way back up. And the last one will stay there. Breath in, chin to chest, round the spine, forwards you go. Once you're down here, I want you to hold onto your calves. Maybe you can reach your ankles. Maybe you can even reach the bottom of your feet. Whatever's comfortable, just hang here for a second. Get that nice little stretch through your hamstrings and your back. Let go of whatever it is you're holding onto and slowly come up to the top. We're going to take our arms out towards the side for twist. If you don't have room, or if your shoulder's a bit grumpy, you're going to put your hands across your chest. Or if you just prefer hands across chest, that's okay too. Otherwise, come with me, stretch your arms out nice and long. Sit up as tall as you can and find a spot across your room. Imagine I've drawn a horizontal line at that height. We're going to follow that line with our eyes. We're going to go to the left-hand side first. You're going to take a breath in. You're going to breathe out to twist your torso towards the left, following that horizontal line. You're going to come through the centre, and you're going to twist towards the right. You're going to alternate sides in your own time. The little chi ball that's between your knees is giving you some feedback. We want your feet to be nice and still. If you feel your feet moving, I want you to gently push down on the ankle that you're twisting towards. Your arms are long if they're outstretched. You're trying to reach your fingertips out to the opposite sides of the room. And your hand is staying in line with your shoulder. If your hands are across your chest, that's perfectly fine. Make sure you stay sitting as upright as possible and keeping that horizontal line in your mind. We've got one more each way. Inhale first, exhale to twist, feet are stable and still. Come back through the centre, last one to the other side. When you get back to the middle, pause. Lower your arms down. Give your shoulders a little roll. Roll them one way and then roll them the other way. Take your little chi ball if you have it and just bring it up near your hips and put it on the floor next to you. Take your feet to the end of the mat, bend your knees and glue your knees and feet together. Keep that engagement of your inner thighs. We're going to do some half roll downs. You're choosing your own range. Hands are on the outside of your legs, but you're not holding on for dear life. You're sitting tall to begin with. You're going to take a breath in. You're going to tuck your chin to your chest and you're going to roll your spine part way down onto the mat. You're going to pause here. You're going to breathe in and you're going to breathe out to come all the way back up, and you're going to sit up nice and tall. Going in your own time, keeping that engagement of your inner thighs. Gentle roll back to the point that's comfortable for your body today. Take a breath in and then breathe out to come all the way back up. Your feet should be still. Try not to let them move on your mat. If you feel them moving, your legs are moving. You're trying to move from your spine here. Pause, breath in, come all the way back up. We're going to do 2 more. Inhale first, tucker the chin to the chest, look to your thighs, gentle roll down to the point that's comfortable for you. Pause there, take a breath in, and then breathe out to come all the way back up. You've got 1 to go. Inhale first, chin to chest. Down you go, just that part way. Pause there, breathe in, and then breathe out to come back up. Stretch your legs out nice and long. Have your heels towards the end of your mat. Sit up nice and tall to begin with. We're going to roll all the way down. I want you to have your chi ball somewhere near you that you can reach it when you get there. Arms are out and the horizontal, shoulders are relaxed. You're going to take a breath in. You're going to tuck your chin to your chest. You're going to roll yourself down. Your legs might move here. That's perfectly fine. Take your arms to the ceiling. Take your arms over the top of your head. Circle your arms around and bring them down by your side. We're going to move into a set of book openings. Roll onto your side. Grab your little chi ball if you have one. Have your knees bent and tuck your chi ball between your knees. Head again is resting in on your arm. That arm could be straight if it's more comfortable for you. Your chin is up off of your chest. Top arm comes down on the floor in front of you and your hand is in line with your shoulder. We're going to start with 2 to the ceiling and then we're going to add on. Going to take a breath in. You're going to breathe out to bring your arm up towards the ceiling and your gaze follows your hand. Then you're going to bring your hand back down to the floor. Inhale first, exhale, arm comes to the ceiling, gaze follows the hand, and then bring it down to the floor. We're going to add on. Inhale first, exhale, arm goes to the ceiling, move into your rotation. That little chi ball between your knees is there to keep your knees still. Lengthen your arm to the ceiling and bring it all the way back to the floor. Going in your own time. Inhale first, exhale, arm goes to the ceiling. Rotating back, gaze follows the hand, hips are still, knees are still. Lengthen your long arm to the ceiling and bring it back to the floor. And the next one, I think about what do you think about what's happening with your shoulder blade? As you exhale, your arm comes to the ceiling. As you move into that rotation, your shoulder blade glides into the middle of your spine. Your arm is nice and long. Lengthen your arm to the ceiling and bring it back to the floor. We're going to do 2 more. Breathe in, breathe out to go back. Gaze follows, so you're getting that nice little mobility through your neck and your cervical spine. Bring your arm to the ceiling, back to the floor. Last one, we're going to hang out there. The chi ball might move a bit. Float your arm to the ceiling. Move into your rotation, go to the point where you just can't go any further. And that's when that little chi ball might slip a bit as you go further back. Let that happen. So you can get your arm further to the ground, if not on the ground. Hang there, breathe, nice big deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Engage those knees again, switch your tummy muscles on, lengthen your arm to the ceiling and bring it all the way back to the floor. If you have your chi ball, take it from between your knees. You're going to flip yourself over to the opposite side. Wriggle yourself back down into the same position. Tuck the chi ball back between your knees. Cradle your head in on your arm and have your chin up off of your chest for me. So again, you should be looking across the room. Feet are behind you, so knees aren't too far forwards. Hand comes out in front of you. Your hand is in line with your shoulder, so you're not too high up off of the mat and not too low. Starting with 2 to the ceiling. We're going to take a breath in. We're going to breathe out to bring our arm to the ceiling. Our gaze follows our hand. And then you're going to bring your hand all the way back down to the floor. Inhaling first, exhale, arm comes to the ceiling, gaze follows the hand, and then bring the hand back down to the floor. We're going to move into rotation now. The ball's going to help keep your knees still, arm to the ceiling, move into rotation, then lengthen the arm to the ceiling, and bring it all the way back to the floor. Inhale first, exhale, arm goes to the ceiling, gaze is following it, you're moving into that rotation but you're not letting your knees move. Lengthen your long arm to the ceiling and bring it back to the floor. And the next one, thinking about your shoulder blade. Your arm comes to the ceiling, you're rotating further back, your shoulder blade glides into the middle of your spine. Lengthen your arm to the ceiling and bring it all the way back to the floor. We've got 2 to go. On the very last one, we'll hang out there. Inhale first, exhale, back you go. At the moment, your knees and your hips are stable and still. Lengthen your arm to the ceiling and back to the floor. And on the last one, we're going to hang out there. So you're going to take your arm to the ceiling. You're going to move to your rotation. You're going to find that point where you just can't get any further before your knees move. And that's when you're going to let your knees slip apart. You're going to let your arm drop further to the ground. Maybe you can touch the ground, maybe you can't. Nice big deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're going to squeeze your knees together again. You're going to make sure your stomach muscles are switched on. You're going to lengthen your arm to the ceiling and you're going to bring it all the way back to the floor. If you have a chi ball between your knees, just take it out for the moment, put it on the floor next to you, somewhere you can still reach it, and wriggle onto your back. Going to go into side to side next. You can always bring your legs down and do this exercise with your feet on the floor. That's perfectly fine. We're going to do it in tabletop today. If you have a chi ball, grab your little chi ball. You're going to bring it with you. Shoulders are relaxed. Feet are hip width distance apart to begin with. Float one leg to 90 degrees and hold it there. Stomach muscles engaged. Inhale first, exhale, second leg joins it. Take your hands, tuck that little chi ball in between your knees if you own one. Bring your hands to the mat, slide the mat on a 45-degree angle. Engage your arms into the floor. They're there to help you. Shoulders are staying connected to your mat. We're going to go to the left side first. Take a breath in, breathe out to let your knees and feet go to the left. Your right hip will lift up off of the mat. Your right shoulder stays on the mat. And then pull yourself through the center slowly. You're going to go over towards the right hand side. You're controlling this movement. You're not going so far that you feel that your shoulders start to lift up off of the mat. Gently pulling yourself through the center using your stomach muscles and your obliques. Going back to the left. So you're going to alternate sides, just move in your own time and work within the range that you are able to control. Keep using your arms. Remember, arms engaged to the floor assist you to switch your back muscles on. Stomach muscles are working, obliques are working. There's no tension in your neck and your shoulders, and this range is what's good for your body today. Nice and controlled. Feet can come to the floor and keep going if you prefer. Nice long breaths. If you don't have a chi ball, your knees are glued together. We're going to do one more in each direction. Going back to the left. I want you to make sure you finish on the right side. Control the movement through the center. Shoulders staying connected to the mat. When you're back in the middle, pause. If you have a chi ball, take it from between your knees, put it on the floor. Bring your arm back to the floor, glue your knees and feet together. We're going to go into a deep stretch from this position, going to the left. Take a breath in, breathe out, let your knees and feet go to the left and let them go right down to the floor for me. Now look over your right shoulder. Nice big rotational stretch. Breathe here for me. Big deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. You have two choices here. You can have your feet on the mat as you come through the center, or you can come with me and pull them through tabletop. If you're coming through tabletop, knees are glued together, stomach muscles are engaged. Take a breath in, breathe out, pull your legs back to tabletop. Go right through the center. Drop them to the right, take your gaze over your left shoulder. And knees to the floor and breathe. Big deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more breath pattern here. And then pull your legs through into the center again. If your feet are still in tabletop, lower one leg down and lower your other leg down. Roll onto your side. Place your opposite hand over in front of you on the floor and gently bring yourself up to a sitting position. I'm just going to sit for a minute. You're going to make sure you don't feel dizzy before we stand you upright. If you're feeling dizzy or lightheaded, you're staying on the floor. If you're feeling okay, you're going to come up to standing with me. Once you're up to standing, we're going to stand with our feet hip width distance apart. Feet hip width distance apart, and we're distributing the weight 60-40. 60% of that is through the front of your feet, 40% of that is through your heels. So you've got a little foiling of leaning forwards, but not so much that you're going to fall. Standing nice and tall to begin with. Imagine you've stood yourself up against a wall and you're going to peel off of that wall. You're going to take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to tuck your chin to your chest. You're keeping your 60-40 weight distribution and you're peeling yourself off of that wall. Your arms are hanging off of you like they belong to a rag doll, going down as far as is comfortable for you. You're going to pause there. You're going to take a breath in. You're going to lead with your tailbone. You're going to tuck your tailbone under. You're going to come back up. You're going to come up to standing nice and tall back against your imaginary wall. Pause there. If you feel dizzy, stay here. Otherwise, breath in, tuck the chin to the chest, and down you go. One long breath all the way down if you can. If you run out of air, you're going to make sure that you do take another breath. Arms are hanging. Pause at the bottom. Inhale. As you exhale, tailbone tuck, scoot through the belly. Use your tummy muscles. Slowly come back up to the top, peeling yourself back up your imaginary wall. Stand tall. You continue in your own time. As you're peeling up and down, you've got your 60-40 weight distribution. You feel like you could tumble forwards, but you're not going to let your body do that. Your hips are staying directly in line with your heels as a result of that 60-40 weight distribution. So when you're moving, it's your spine that's moving, as opposed to your hips swinging backwards. As you return to the top each time, your shoulders are nice and relaxed. We're going to do two more. Inhale, tuck the chin to the chest. Long breath out as you go all the way down. Eyes are open, arms are hanging. Inhale at the bottom, leading with the tailbone. Tailbone tuck, scoot through the belly. Slowly come back up. You're going to stand nice and tall. You've got one to go. Inhale first, chin to chest, down you go. Long breath all the way out. Arms are hanging. At the bottom, inhale. Leading with the tailbone tuck, scoot through the belly. And slowly come back up. Pause when you get to the top. And just stand nice and still. Standing on a tripod, that tripod is your big toe, your little toe and your heel. Looking across the room, you're going to focus your eyes on a spot, and that's something that is not moving. If you're looking through a window, I don't want you to look at a tree. I want you to find something that's still. You're going to transfer your weight into one leg. You're going to lift your opposite leg up off of the ground, keep looking at your spot. And then you're going to lower your leg all the way down. You're going to come to the other side, transfer into that tripod, lift your leg up off of the ground, and then lower it down. So you're going to alternate sides. We're going to add on in a minute. Just find your balance. Big toe, little toe and heel. Lift your leg, and then lower it all the way down. We'll do one more like that. Use your breathing. Inhale first, exhale to lift, and lower all the way down. We're going to add on if you're up for it. Transfer the weight, lift the leg up and hold here. Interlace your hands underneath your leg. Stretch your leg out long and straight for me. Bend your knee back in and lower your foot down to the ground. Changing sides. Transfer the weight. Lift your leg. Interlace your hands underneath your knee. Stretch your leg out nice and long. Bend your knee back in and lower it to the ground. We're going to do that again, but we're going to hold it for 2 breaths. Transfer the weight, lift your leg, interlace your hands, stretch your leg out long and hold here and breathe. And breathe. Bend your knee in, lower to the ground, over to the other side, move your tripod, keep your eyes on your spot, interlace your hands under your leg, stretch your leg out long, nice big deep breaths, bend it in and down. We're going to do 1 more on each side. We're going to hold them for 4 breaths. Transfer the weight, lift your leg, interlace your hands, stretch your leg out long and breathe. Little engagement of your glutes will help you stand on one leg. They are your stabilizing muscles. Maintain that even weight distribution through your feet. 1 more breath pattern here. Bend your knee, lower your leg down. You've got 1 more to the other side. Transfer, lift, interlace, lengthen, breathe. 4 breaths. Keep the little glutes engaged, keep the even weight distribution across your foot, keep your eyes on your spot. 1 more breath, and then lower the leg all the way down. Relax for a second. We're going to come into some heel raises. If your ankles are a bit grumpy, feel free to lift this bit out. Focus on your spot. When you're ready, lift of your heels up off of the mat, come onto your tippy toes, and then lower yourself all the way down. When you're ready, gentle lift of your heels, keep your eyes on your spot, and then lower them down. You've got 1 to go. We're going to add on. Gentle lift of the heels, and lower down. We're going to take that into a stretch. We're going to use our arms. We're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, you're going to come onto your tippy toes. You're going to take your arms out towards the ceiling. You're going to breathe them nice and high. Try and touch the ceiling. Lengthen your arms, they're nice and strong like you're pushing them through water, and return your heels down to the ground. Breathe in, breathe out. Arms to the side, onto your tippy toes, take your arms right up towards the ceiling. Lower your heels down, lengthen through your arms, bring your heels down as slowly as you can. You've got 1 to go. Inhale first, exhale, arms out towards the side, onto the tippy toes. Take the arms right up towards the ceiling, and then slowly lower all the way down. Once you're down, you're going to give your shoulders a little roll. You're going to do them a couple ways, couple in both directions or both ways. Roll the other way. And you're going to relax your shoulders. You're going to enjoy that class for a week. You can do it as many times as you like. Listen to your body each time, see how you go. Maybe there's a bit of a difference from day to day depending on what's going on in your life. If you have any queries, you know where to find me. Enjoy your day and enjoy the class. Thanks, team. Bye now.